Hello and welcome to another edition of the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show, where this week I am super excited to have the longtime head football coach at Saguaro High School and the current tight end coach of the reigning Big 12 champion college football playoff participant Arizona State Sun Devils, Jason Mohns, on the program. If you don't know, Coach Mohns had arguably probably the greatest run at a school in Arizona prep history. In 11 seasons at Saguaro, compiling an incredible 123-19 record with 7 state titles, one of which was an open championship. And really, that's a little misleading because one of the years they didn't even get beat on the field. They got beat by COVID in one of those seasons. So an incredible run. As obviously with the tremendous ASU coaching staff done an amazing job helping getting the Sun Devils going. Big 12 champions this year, and I saw it on Twitter, so it's got to be true, or X, America's team now. They have always been the team in the Collette family. I know, Coach, we're going to get into a little bit of your football story, but my father played for the 73 Fiesta Bowl champion Sun Devils, and my grandfather played in the 50 and 51 Salad Bowl, which actually was the name of the bowl game for the Border Conference champion. So We're going to get right into talking to you and telling us about your football story. But I would be remiss if I didn't say I just want to contribute my 3 little things here to I know Coach Dillingham said when you guys have new guys in the program, you're going to try to maybe get a class going for them on why we don't like the U of A. And I think maybe like I'm a part of anything. I'm not. But as a 4th-generation Arizonan and longtime Sun Devil, I'm going to give my 3 reasons really quickly. Number one, when ASU was trying to become a university, the only school that voted against it was the Tucson Board of Regents right there.
Yep.
Reason number 2, 1968, 7-2 ASU, 8-1 U of A are playing last game of the regular season. Those days, almost impossible to get a WAC team into a bowl game. Winner was going to go to the Sun Bowl to take on Auburn. Obviously a really big deal. Before the game, the Sun Bowl was going to pick the winner. U of A said, if you don't take us now, we're not going to go. So the Sun Bowl caved. Long story short, ASU wins 34-7 in what Sun Devil lore would become known as the Ultimatum Bowl. And that's reason number 2. Reason number 3 is the streak. Coach Cush went 16-5 against U of A in his 22-21 years at Arizona State University. And then when Larry Smith got it turned around in the 80s, from 81 through till 91, ASU only managed to tie against U of A. And when we beat them every year was expected. I don't think we really rubbed it in. And that 80s, I mean, I think they even had a bar in Tucson called The Streak. So those are my 3 contributions to the club.
Those are good. I had never heard about the Ultimatum Bowl. That's really good. That's good info. That's crazy. I can't believe that the Sun Bowl allowed that. And,
yeah.
But you know enough about those guys down there. It's not surprising.
No, not at all. So, like I said, we're super excited to have Coach. Tell us a little bit about your football story, Coach.
Yeah, being where I am right now was not the plan. I was lucky to grow up around the game. My dad, my late father, Greg Mohns, coached collegiate and professional football. He was on Coach Cush's staff the last 5 years here at Arizona State. And my mom was actually a cheerleader here at that time, so that's how they met. Very highly illegal in today's modern day, but he was a young coach, so not as creepy as it sounds. But no, I definitely feel like full-blooded Sun Devil. But I grew up around the game. As I got a little bit older, my dad was coaching the Canadian Football League. He was in Toronto for a couple Grey Cup runs with Doug Flutie. He was a head coach of the BC Lions up in Vancouver. Was a part of the first iteration of the XFL, and so I grew up around the game, but it was not my first love, to be honest with you. I played everything growing up: baseball, basketball, football, and I got really into hockey. As I had a neighborhood kid. My parents divorced when I was young, and I had a single working mom, and so I was kind of at the mercy of like whatever neighborhood kids I was hanging out with. I would just play sports with whatever they're playing. And we had a kid in our neighborhood that was playing hockey, and I got into it and took to it, really well, and was pretty good at it. And so I played like travel club hockey really through the sophomore, junior, senior years of high school. So playing football was really not like the number one thing for me. Coaching football was definitely not on my radar, even though my dad was a coach. Came to Arizona State as a student. Was going to play at the time. The ASU hockey team was a club team, and so I was probably good enough to play for that. But I thought I was going to go to medical school. I was pre-med and a biology major, and so I was going to be I was going to be focused on school. And then, I got here and I got on campus. I started taking some of those classes like, yeah, I don't know if that's for me. I had gotten involved. I was sitting my freshman year in my freshman English class. And I was sitting in the back of the class reading the State Press, which is a school paper here at ASU. And they had classified ads in the back. And one of the ads was for $10 an hour, which in 1999, 2000 was actually pretty good money. And it was for youth sports coaches for the city of Scottsdale. And so I was like, shoot, that sounds fun. $10 an hour is pretty good. And I reached out to the ad and I got hired to coach 4th and 5th grade girls basketball for the city of Scottsdale. And so I did a season of that at a school called OLPH, which is kind of in the South Scottsdale area. And at the end of the season, my supervisor was like, "Hey, you did a great job. We'd love to keep you involved, but we think you're a little too competitive for the 9 and 10-year-old girls." So they switched me over to a junior high flag football. And so then the next season I went into coaching junior high flag football and had a blast and had a good group of kids, really good group of families. It was at Cocopa Middle School, which is actually, funny enough, a feeder. It's a chaparral, which was is Saguaro's longtime hated rival. And so I did a season of flag football, and then that group of kids and families, most of them were 7th graders, decided they wanted to play a season of tackle football before they went to high school. And they had found a league called the NYS, National Youth Sports, that had 8-man tackle football. You could sign up your own team. You didn't have to get placed on a team. And so the parents came to me at the end of the flag football season and said, "Hey, would you be willing to coach our kids in this NYS league next season before they go off to high school?" And they were like, "We'll pay you." And when I was like, "Oh, you don't need to pay me. These kids are awesome. I'm having fun." And I kind of turned into a hobby for me. So that's how I got started in coaching tackle football. I did coached a season of 8-man tackle football in this NYS league. Had a blast. A lot of the kids' buddies, your younger brothers, everything. They all wanted to play another season in the spring because it was fall and spring at the time. So then we did a spring team, and at the time my dad was in Toronto coaching for the Toronto Argonauts, and so the first year we were the Cocopa Mustangs, and then the second season I said, well, hey, let's be the Argonauts because my dad's coaching for the Argos and he can send us the helmet decals. So that's how, if anybody that knows anything about youth football over the last 20 years or so, there's a program. Really, this last season was the first year that they didn't have a team over the last 20-something years, the Scottsdale Argonauts. But I started that when I was a sophomore at Arizona State, and it just started by happen chance. And everybody thought, when I was at Saguaro, that I started the Argonauts as a feeder program for Saguaro. But I coached about 4 years of the Argonauts before I ever stepped foot on the campus at Saguaro High School. But that's how I got into coaching. And I was running the Argos program. I was still kind of going the medical route. I had been accepted to chiropractic college. I was going to go to, had been accepted to Palmer West College of Chiropractic in San Jose, California. I was finishing up my last couple of classes. I was doing a 6-credit internship at a chiropractic office while I was coaching. And I had got a call about coaching freshman football. Somebody that knew me from coaching the Argonauts knew Frank Rubin, who was assistant AD at Saguaro. And they said, "Hey, we know Saguaro needs a freshman coach. This guy would be really good. You should call him." And Frank Rubin called me out of the blue. I had no connections to Saguaro. I'm actually a alum of Horizon High School. And he called me and said, "Hey, we've got an open freshman job. We'd like to bring you out." And I told him when he called me, I was like, "I don't think I'm qualified to coach high school football, at any level. I've just been doing this youth thing, kind of having fun. It's not really my plan." He's like, "Well, just come out, meet our head coach, John Sanders, and, kind of see what it's about. And then, then make your decision from there." And that was it. That was kind of that changed the whole trajectory of my life. And I went out there, I met with John and Frank. They were awesome. Got to watch the team practice. It was right at the end of spring ball. Saguaro had just won state championship in 2006. It was their first title since '95. They had just come off a state championship in 2006. Had a ton of talented players on there. A lot of excitement around the program, and it was cool. So I was like, "Hey, I'll try it out. I'll take on the freshman job and do it." And I just absolutely caught the coaching bug, and got a season under my belt. When it was time to kind of make the decision if I was actually going to pack up and move and do the chiropractic thing, I had to make a tough decision and say, I'm just not passionate about it. I'd show up for my internship at the chiropractic office, and I'd be looking at the clock all day long, waiting for it to hit 3 so I could get out of there and go to freshman football practice. And it was kind of like telling for me. It was like, I've got one thing that's supposed to be my my future career, and I can't wait to get out of here. And I got another thing that doesn't pay me any money, and there's not very good prospects for the future, but it's something I'm passionate about. And I chased my passion. I absolutely fell in love with coaching, and always prided myself as a competitor. And I think as an athlete, I was always a good little youth athlete growing up. Not because of any kind of physical capabilities, probably more so because of my understanding of the game and scheme and concepts and how to gain advantages. And so I think the coaching kind of came naturally to me. And that's kind of how I got into it. And the funny enough, is a whole other side story, but while I was kind of doing some of this, I had gotten involved with helping out, doing kind of speed, because my degree was kinesiology, and I was working at a facility to make some money, because obviously you have to have money to survive. And so I was working at a place called Velocity Sports Performance, and a coach from Salt River High School, which was a 8-man 1A school on the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community reservation, was bringing some of his kids to do speed training. And so I was working with some of these kids, and he said, well, hey, if you're interested, oh, sorry, Coach, turn my light on real quick. I apologize about that, guys. But he was like, hey, come out and help me out and help me coach receivers. So I had done one season of just helping out, doing speed training and kind of working with receivers at this 8-man school on the reservation here just outside of Scottsdale. And the year I got the job at Saguaro, I had actually applied for the head job at Salt River. The head coach had left. I had applied for the head job just because I had been there for a season. I was like, why not? I could do it. And of course, they hired somebody else with much more experience. Well, I had taken the Saguaro job, and the coach that was supposed to take the Salt River job, ultimately something happened, and at the last minute before the season started, he couldn't do it, and so he kind of quit last minute. And so they reached out to me, the Salt River guys, and were like, hey, can you help us in the interim while we try to find a replacement? And I said, well, yeah, I'm got practice from like 3:30 to 5:30 every day at Saguaro. I could get to Salt River by 6, and we could start practice then, and I'll help you out until you guys get a replacement. Well, long story short, they never found a replacement. So I did 2 years of my life where I was the head freshman coach at Saguaro High School and the head varsity coach at Salt River High School. And I was traveling all over the state and coaching games on Wednesday night and coaching games on Friday night and trying to make it all work. And it was very interesting. It was awesome. It was a great experience. Actually, my last year at Salt River was the one and only time that they ever qualified for the AIA state playoffs. We went in there and got smoked by Tempe Prep. At the time, Tempe Prep was a 1A school, and they were really good. They beat the brakes off of us. But no, that's kind of my story. I did that. And after year 2, I was like, I felt like my career was moving forward at Saguaro, and I stepped away from Salt River. Ended up coaching varsity running backs, and then got the offensive coordinator job. In 2011, I was the OC at Saguaro for 1 year, and then John Sanders left to join Todd Graham's staff at ASU, and I got promoted to the head coaching position in 2012. So it really was kind of a whirlwind. It was not anything that I had ever planned on doing, but I did. I fell in love with it, and I just engulfed myself in it. And I was coaching youth football and freshman football, because when I was coaching at Saguaro and Salt River, I was also still running the Argonauts. And I think at one point we had 9 teams. We had over 300 kids. So I was coaching football all day, every day. Monday through Saturday. Sunday was about the only day I wasn't, and I was still game planning and doing that. So I definitely felt like I got a PhD in coaching at an early age, because I just did absolutely everything I could do to learn and develop and grow and coach. I just jumped in head first.
That's about 6 seasons worth in 1 year there, I would say. That's a PhD in coaching, definitely. Guys, if you don't know, Coach sells some stuff on his JMO offensive system. He has a lot of stuff on CoachTube. So there's a recent video I watched on Glazier on the unbalanced formations that was phenomenal. I've been fanboying out on Buster Faulkner over at Georgia Tech, and a lot of your stuff was really, really similar there. That was super cool. But really quick, Coach, because I know you have a meeting coming up, so I want to make sure we have time for you to share some stuff with us. But all your videos, I think you have a really great knack for making what's very complex seem pretty simple. So talk to us about, how you teach things conceptually, and walk us through a little bit of your install. Because one of the things in some of the videos I've watched, how you guys do the install, where maybe you get everything in a certain number of days and then you add layers to the play as it goes on, is a really cool way to do it. So walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I would say, from somebody that like I didn't play football at a high level, and as I got into learning the game so I could then turn around and coach it, I always grasp onto the things where it was explained in a very detailed, clear, easy to understand, easy to consume, and then it made sense to me like I could go back out and teach it. So I felt like as I just absolutely scoured the internet and scoured books and coaching videos and all that stuff, I just was always drawn to guys that's like they put it into terms, they broke it down into ways that made sense to me, to where I felt like I could learn it at a high enough level where then I could go coach it. And still today, I mean, I talk to guys much smarter than me, and I still try to learn as much as I can, and I still feel the same way, which is like, man, if I'm gonna make something part of my system, and when I say I didn't invent anything. Everything that I ever did is something that I learned from somebody that was smarter than me. But I think my system was just a collection of things over the years that I learned from really good coaches that made sense to me, that I felt like I could stand up in front of my team and explain it at a high level and try to find a way to make it make sense. And I think I've heard before that's the real genius in coaching is not what you know, but it's what you can teach and what you can get players to comprehend and have confidence in. And so I just felt like that was it. I built a system around stuff that made sense to me, that I felt like if I had to get up and do a Glazier clinic, I could stand up and talk about it for an hour and teach it in a way where, like, I feel like when I do a coach tube course, or if I go, speak at a Glazier clinic, like a guy's going to come out of a 50-minute session and he's going to be able to go install that concept and coach it at a high level, and troubleshoot it and have answers for different things like that. Like, that's what I wanted. When I buy a course or I go to a clinic, like, I'm like, hey, if I'm going to go watch a course on spacing, I want to be able to come out of this course and then go teach that to my kids and run it at a high level. And if I can't do that, then I think it's a waste of time or money. And so I just approached kind of like my coaching from that standpoint. And everything that I've done with the JMO system was the stuff that I did to have success. I didn't, it wasn't a watered down version. It's like, this is what I've done over the years with video evidence to back it up. And this is how I teach it. This is how I coach it. These are the coaching points. And so I think I had a lot of success. And that's why I always hear from people. People are like, it's just detailed and it's clear and it's concise and there's no wasted motion and it makes sense. And I feel confident that I can go teach it. And all I've done is try to put stuff together that how I would like to consume when I learn. I just try to teach it the way I would want to learn it. And so that's been really good. And I love to hear that. That's my favorite thing, because I think that's who I want to be as coach. I'm not ever going to be the guy that's like, oh man, that's the smartest guy I've ever talked to. I want to be like, man, that guy's a really good teacher and a really good coach. I'd rather have that.
Well, the way you say it there, Coach, everything is, if you were talking for 50 minutes, you get every single ounce out of that 50 minutes. Big on efficiency. I've seen a million guys, everybody runs forwards. And the way that you walked it through, we've taught it that way ever since, because I thought it was the best way I'd seen it. And I've watched a whole lot of videos on it and different stuff on a lot of concepts that everybody runs. But next question, and maybe you can give us a little insight on how this differs from the college game and at the nationally elite level at Saguaro, where you guys were playing at. But how many plays do you typically go in a game plan with? And by plays, we're talking about, that's another sidebar question is, are you going to run that play out of the thing you worked on the week, the formation, the motion, the shift, the whatever, or is it ubiquitous? You could throw it into anything. How many plays in a typical game plan?
Yeah, I would say, like, at Saguaro High School, I was typically carrying between 60 and 70 plays into a game. Not counting certain situational calls or things that you carry all the time. Some of our short yardage goal line packages and things like that were kind of like on top of that. When you look at 60 to 70, but some of that is variations of the same play. So it's not 60 to 70 different, truly different concepts. It was just 60 to 70 different variations of everything that we want to do. But, you scale it down even more so. It's like, how are we going to run the ball this week? And everything for me, from building a game plan, always started with how can we run the ball, and then building off of that. So building our building our RPO, building our play action, building our screen game, off of that. But it always started with, all right, this is what this team does. What do we do that allows us to be able to run the ball effectively against them? And that's where every game plan for me started. So I think it was about 60 to 70 plays a game that we would carry. And I think the biggest thing is, and I prided myself in this, was teaching our kids and having our staff be aligned in the way in our language. I think a football, an offensive system is it's its own language. And if you train your players and coaches to be fluent in that language, then when you get into a game on Friday night, you can make adjustments on the fly because everybody understands the language and then they understand the concepts. And so when we maybe call something on a Friday night that we didn't practice during the week, but the kids have run that concept all year long and they've spoken that language. They understand what the language means and they understand the layering of how we're doing things. So that way you get into a game and you maybe get something different than what you prepared for all week long. You have the ability to make adjustments. It's why I was never a wristband guy. And Noel Mazzoni was really the first one when I first got the OC job, and I was kind of going back and forth. And I had another coach on my staff that was really pushing for wristbands, and I had a guy that did use them and another guy that didn't use them, and I was kind of in between. And that was the biggest thing that Noel said was like, if you're a wristband guy, you kind of get stuck to whatever's on there, and that's it. And if that stuff's not good, there's really no adjusting, and then you're just you're just calling plays. You're not adjusting. And I felt like really going to a concept based no huddle where we were a hand signal team, and that allowed us to really be able to adjust and tweak things just by changing the language a little bit. I'm a huge proponent on, and I used to tell my guys all the time, like when we meet on Sunday to finalize our game plan, I don't want new, like you might have saw Ole Miss do something that was awesome on Saturday. But if we don't do that, like if that's not something that we've invested time in, I'm not going to call it. It's a great play. We can look at it, this winter or spring, but I'm not going to call it on the following Friday because it's not something that our kids, we haven't invested time into it. So I was always about, if you can find me a new way, a new wrinkle, a new way to dress up something that we already do, I'm all ears. I'm all about it. If it makes sense, if I can speak it in our language, if you could draw it on the board and I could speak it in our language right now, then it's got a chance to go in. But if you draw something on the board and I can't put it into our language, it's not going in. So save your energy. And I think that was something that we had a lot of success with. And I felt like we were probably a better team. I know we were. We were always a better team late than we were early, because I was such a big proponent on like putting everything up. Every team's identity is different. And so it's like, hey, let's put the menu up. Let's install everything. And then I felt like the journey of the season was really exploring what we did well and what we didn't do well, and taking this big overall menu of things that we can do and really scaling it down to focus on the things that we do well, if that makes sense. And so, early on in the year, if you watch game 1 or 2 versus, game 9 or 10, you're going to see a lot of stuff that we did game 1 and 2 that you won't see us do game 9 or 10 because we weren't efficient at it. We weren't successful at it. So I was always big on cutting. I wasn't adding, I was cutting as the season went on. And I think that was something. And now you're going to see some different variations and wrinkles, but from a concept standpoint, the concepts are going to scale down. And it's the way that we present it and window dress it is going to change from week to week.
Well, Coach, I want to make sure we get time for you to share your screen and go through some stuff. But one of the things that the coaches out there that are listening, and obviously it's mostly high school coaches, one of the things that Coach has such a unique perspective, because we're talking about Saguaro, a nationally elite, top 20 level program. The Salt River, a program on the reservation that I'm not sure if they still have a football program.
They're not around. The school's not around anymore, actually.
So I mean, we're talking about a guy that has been at the top and made the playoffs at Salt River, obviously built one of the greatest programs in the country at Saguaro. So it really gives a unique perspective on a guy that's kind of seen it from all angles, which I think is really fascinating. So, but like I said, I know you have a meeting, so I want to make sure you can share your screen and coach us up on some stuff. So I'm going to shut up and I'll ask questions as we go, but coach us up, Coach.
All right, let's see what we can get into here. Is that showing up okay for you?
Yes, sir.
So I have, that's one of the cool things is, from my time at Saguaro, and then, from all my coach tube courses, I call it the Huddle Vault, but all of my film from the concepts that I teach is all backed up on here. So it's something that guys, I don't push it a ton. I used to not push it at all. It was kind of like, it was kind of hidden because I didn't want people to go and go find it when I was still playing against guys. But now that I've left, that, we make it kind of an offering to guys that kind of get into my courses and kind of start running more of the system as a whole. Then it's backed up by some of this. But Coach, I'll kind of let you, if you have, I'll fire off a couple things that I have, and then if you have something that jumps in. But like, one of the big things was like our RPOs and just kind of having man and zone answers, is really good. Our mesh rail, everybody does that now. I've got a good quick game course, and just looking at some of the different quick game was something
I'm the
that
worst RPO coach in America, so I need to learn. So you coach me up.
You want to see some of the combo RPOs?
Yes,
Let's do this.
I would love to see some of that.
Cool. So let me move this up here. Is that a full screen for you?
Pretty close, yeah. I mean, we can see it good. My view, I have us on the side, but you can see it very well.
Cool. So I'll get into this. I'm not gonna give you my run. You guys kind of heard the live story, but I think the biggest thing that I saw when we first started running RPOs, I was lucky enough to have my quarterback Luke Rubenzer, who's still one of the all-time great quarterbacks in Arizona. He was recruited by Tony Franklin when Tony was at Cal, and Tony was the first one that was like, man, you do some really good stuff, and I'd love to have you come speak at my Tony Franklin clinic. And so I went out there. This is going to shut my lights off again. I guess it doesn't matter now. I should get my screen. But I went out and I spoke at Tony's big clinic in Nashville. It was my first ever clinic speaking engagement. And I spoke in front of about 900 people, and I went for 3 hours straight. So it was like trial by fire. Like you're either going to be good and people are like this, or this is going to be a miserable experience. But I also got to be around and listen to Tony talk RPOs back in like 2012 when nobody was running it. And they used to be really easy because everybody was in quarters and playing, or soft cover 3. And you could just throw gift routes. Like people were just playing soft. You could read an overhang and either hand it off or throw a hitch. And it was like stealing. And that's why Luke Rubenzer's senior year, he set the all-time career completion percentage record, like over Eli Manning, and like the names he beat were insane. He threw 62 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and he threw 60 consecutive touchdown passes that year. And it's not because I'm the greatest coach of all time. It's just because we gave him some really easy options with the ball. But what I saw over the years as defenses caught up is a lot less of the ability to throw the gift routes and the free access throws and some of those things. You started getting a lot more man match. Teams were covering down and taking away the easy throws, and so kind of felt like as a post snap option team, I had to build in some more man answers because we were getting a lot more man looks and loaded boxes. So that was kind of why our RPO game, kind of had to evolve. So we built a system where we could kind of package some zone answers with some man answers, and so tried to put it in a way that made sense. This one we call GIF, so I could call whatever run scheme, for coaches that are kind of paying attention. Anything inside here, you can run whatever you want. So if you want to run power or counter or zone, split zone, anything like that, inside, mid, duo, like you can kind of get in any of that stuff, and then we're just packaging GIF to it. So this GIF call means glance. We're gonna run a glance to the single receiver, and then we're gonna run this inside fade or the slot fade concept to the multiple receiver side. So we call it a box hitch. If he gets cloud or press, he can convert kind of to that in route. Otherwise, he's going to run a 6-yard hitch. And then we're going to run this inside numbers fade. This drawing is not great. He's going to push this to the toes of the defender, and then he's going to work to the field to the top of the numbers. If he was into the boundary, it would be the red line. He could push up to 7 yards depth. So if this guy's playing catch at like 8 yards and he pushes vertical, once he gets to 7 yards, then he's got to work to get to his landmark. Okay. This is your man beater side. So if you get post safety and you get man look, then quarterback knows if I've got a loaded box, because I always started with my quarterback of like a box count. All right. So we know right here, we've got our 5 linemen plus our tight end that's in the core. We can block 6 and read 7. So if there's 6 hats in the box, we're going to hand the ball off. We can block 6. If there's a 7th hat in the box, then that becomes the read guy, whether he's a weak rotation safety, whether he's a strong rotation, nickel, that seventh defender we couldn't account for. So that was kind of where everything started for us. And then obviously just teaching our quarterback. We have an acronym that we call SOCKET. And SOCKET stands for, when we just take a look at the defensive shell, stands for safeties, overhangs, and corners. So pre-snap, I want my quarterback to look at what's the structure of the safeties. Is it one high, two high? Is one high and inside? Is one low and outside? We want to have an idea of that, all right? And usually when people teach quarterbacks to read coverages, they talk about safeties and corners. But the overhangs I thought were important because corners can press bail and they can disguise it, and safeties can start in two high and spin to one high or vice versa. But the overhangs usually were pretty accurate. If they were zone, they're apex. If they're man, they're heads up. There wasn't a whole lot of disguising happening from the overhangs, and it just helped us really clarify that picture. So I can kind of show you some of this as we get into it. But this look right here, can you see the whole screen, Coach? Okay. So this look right here, we're running our inside zone concept, and so we're running inside zone concept. And like I said, we teach our quarterback to socket. So right here, we're like, all right, starts with a box count. Well, when you look at the box, how many do we have in the box right here? We got 4 down, we got 3, so it's 7. We know that we can block 6 and we can read 7. So right now we're down a hat because they've got 7 guys that are in and around that box. So we're down a hat. So now quarterback knows if I just open up and hand this ball off, we're -1. We're down a hat in the run game. So he knows I've got built-in answer. I've got a hitch with an inside fade over here, which would be my man beater. And I've got a 5-step glance out here, which would kind of be my zone beater based on what they're doing. Now, this doesn't have to only be a mancer, right? Because I can also throw slot fade, and I could bang that hitch against cover 3. So if they go weak rotation and this corner plays soft, I could bang that hitch too. So it's important to know. That's why we teach that socket. So when we look at that, when we teach our quarterbacks just pre-snap right here, this is actually against Horizon. So we're like, hey, let's look at this coverage shell. They are too high, but I see this guy is high and he's opening. So I can tell by this look that I'm getting field rotation. When I get field rotation, I know I'm going to get more of a soft cover 3 look right here. This becomes my number 7. This guy right here, if he fits the box, I know that I've got a glance out here. I've got a zone beater answer for this guy right here. Okay. So my quarterback right here should open up, put the ball in the running back's chest, right? He sees the rotation. He should confirm with his eyes right here that number 7 is a threat to the run game, and he can pull this out and bang the glance. Okay. So we're just trying to give our quarterback answers to make sure we're never running the ball into a bad box. Okay, same call right here. Again, the run game can be whatever you want the run game to be. All right, we've got the gift call. Now, you get this odd team, 3-4 look, split safeties. All right, we know they've got 3, 6, and then this is number 7 right here. All right, so this is a guy that's a threat, that's number 7. I've got my glance into the boundary. All right, I've got my inside fade out here to the field. Okay, now the quarterback's going to look if we get any kind of rotation. Right now we don't. He sees number 7 open up to wall, and now we're getting this quarters look, right? We're running 6-on-6 in the box. So we've got a hat for a hat. So if he does this right, he should hand this ball off. And this is Sierra Canyon, a really good team from California. So obviously guys are trying to disguise and spin. At the end of the day, my quarterback knows if we have 6 for 6 and I don't hand the ball off, Coach Mohns is going to light me up when we watch film on Saturday, because everything we do is built around running the ball. Everything we do sets up off of the ability to run the ball. So if we get a box where it's 6 for 6, right, I expect him to hand this ball off.
So
he does a good job.
It's going to be 6 for 6 based on that alley player on the field side, or how?
Yeah. So now he's kind of looking at pre-snap rotation. I mean, if anything, right, he's like, okay, I look at the shell right here. It's too high. I don't really have anybody cheating. If this guy was lower and outside, this guy's high and inside, I might get boundary rotation, and this guy can add, and this guy could drop out, right? So if, you're just kind of looking for different things like that. But at the end of the day, right, I know if I've got 6 here heavy in the core, I'm good. So in this case right here, he's kind of peeking. He sees this nickel Sam opening up to wall. Once he vacates, even if they try to add a safety late, there's no way they're going to get him there in time. So he's in this look right here, you can see his eyes post snap. Watch him peek at that. Watch him peek the nickel. See where his eyes go? He knows that's the true. if you look at this picture right now, the only true number 7 threat is that nickel. This guy right here is the only true number 7 threat. So he looks at him, that guy bails out, I'm handing this ball off.
Playing the run with his back to it. So
correct. And that's why that's the whole, and I've got a whole other course on just quarterback mesh mechanics, right? Of just how you fit that ball in and how you ride and decide and those things. Because that's something that if you're going to be an option team, because RPO offense is triple option. You have a dive key and a pitch key on every RPO call. So it's the same idea. And so you talk about how often a triple option team practices ball handling, right, and right in meshes and pitching and all that stuff. Well, if you're an RPO team and you're not spending the same amount of time, you're not understanding what you're doing because you're putting your quarterback in a triple option situation. So same call right here. All right, now post snap or pre snap coach, like what do you see?
One safety high.
Yep. And so we talk about socket safeties to overhang to corners. What does the overhang show you to the field?
The field is way out there.
He's walked out heads up. And then I look at the corners. I'm like, dude, those guys have man eyes.
Yeah.
So right now, my quarterback knows there's a hard 7 box. They got 7 guys. That there's nobody that's in an apex. That's a hard 7 box. Everything about this picture tells me pre-snap this is man. Right?
Definitely. Looks
so
like
what's my mancer? Throw the inside fade. Yep. Throw the inside fade. Now, is that a good decision to throw it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did we complete it? No, we didn't complete it. Not everything's great, but from a decision-making process, if I just hand this ball off, I'm down a hat. I can't account for that. Okay. I don't like the glance versus man. All right. I'm not going to throw a hitch versus man. So the built-in answer right here is throwing my inside fade to my slot receiver. I want that matchup. He wins. It's just not a good throw. Right. But you can see we put our quarterback in a good situation. He took the best situation because you don't want to run into a bad box unless you're playing a bad team and then, just do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. So same look right here. All right. We know we've got this 4-3 look. All right. We can tell right here, like they're walking down and they're going field rotation. In my opinion right here, and we talked about earlier, like now we're FIB. So now we're running that inside fade into the boundary. Okay. And we said, yes, this is a mancer right here, but it also can be a zone beater. If you get strong rotation, I can just turn out here and bang a boundary hitch. So even though the quarterback here tries to read that field overhang, I don't like that decision. What he should have done, because this is field rotation, right? And now they're really bracketing this glance, is he should have gone over here and high load this corner, knowing that with that field rotation, that corner is going to bail and I could bang that hitch in a rhythm right now.
I can throw that boundary hitch, Coach.
Yeah, I might be able to. I might still skip it there. I used to have a really good arm. Now it's just a wet noodle. So, but you can see, like I said, they're still high school kids, and hey, he put a good ball on him. He's like, I just like the grass there. I thought that guy was too low, but this is a much harder completion than this is. And for these offenses to go, you have to take that over and over and over and over. You have to make the defense respect that throw. If they don't respect that throw, then it's tough sled.
So, Coach, the quarterback's all sock. He's looking at the sock because I know one of the things I love about your system is how you break everything into 4 defensive families: even split, odd split, even stack, odd stack. And he's not worried about anything that. He's just worried about the numbers in general, correct?
Yeah, all that stuff is more like for our O-line and our tight ends to identify the point. That's at the end of the day, it's Mike ID, right?
Yeah.
It's how do you ID the Mike, and then everything works off of that. So having our even and odds and split and stack calls that's our a system for ID and the Mike, and having everybody on the same page for how we do that. The quarterback does need to know that because in the protection game, he also needs to understand who he's IDing as the Mike and getting everybody right. And that's everything starts from there, whether you're working, plus the point or you're working minus the point in protections. But as far as like in the RPO game, it's really more about socking it. And then really seeing the hat count. Like I think it starts with the hat count. If I get up there and I've got 6 and there's only 6 guys around, there's nobody else, then I'm handing the ball off. That nothing else matters, right? If I get up there and I can account for 6 and there's a 7th guy that's kind of in the picture, well, then I need to know what I have in my tool bag that was tagged to this play to account for that guy if he adds to the run. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Coach.
So this is another, and I'm just showing you a couple variations of these RPOs. This one we call sniff. So sniff is just this is our we call this snap concept. It's just a little 2-man stick concept, quick out with a stick route. And then we still have, because it's got this, if you notice the last one was GIF, so it was glance with inside fade. Now this one is snap, it's snap with inside fade, right? And so we can run this with the tight end as part of the RPO or the tight end in the core. This one right here is a little stick draw concept. So we're running sniff. Sniff tells this guy, I've got the snap, which is that quick out. The tight end knows whether I'm into the boundary or I'm to the field. I'm on the stick route. And then 1 and 2 to the field know we've got the inside fade concept right here. Okay. So we've tagged essentially stick draw is what this is right here with our inside fade and our snap. Now, if this is soft, right, any kind of cover 3 or soft quarters, he can just bang this right now if he doesn't like the box. Now we can only account for 5 right here. So pre-snap, these guys have 6 guys right now that are heavy in the box. So quarterbacks should be thinking, and I've showed you like 3 clips in a row where we didn't make the right decision, but at least we can talk through why. We have a system, or we had when I was at Saguaro system for, if I've got 6 in the box and I can only account for 5, I can make a junk it call, and I can tell this running back, hey, junk it to 24, right? And that tells him, hey, bro, go block 24. I'm throwing this thing. Even though it was an RPO call, I know there's nothing to read. I'm already down a hat. Okay. And then I can work from here. Now, if you socked this right now, coach, what would you see?
Well, I see 1 deep safety, and I see, we can only account for 5. So we're minus in the run game, and they're really tight on the outside. So we're looking. So
this picture looks like, hey, I'm down. I got to junk this. You go block that dude. And this looks like man to me. So I'm going to start on my Manser side and work my inside fade. Now, that's all well and good. My kid decides to hand off the stick draw, and the way they bring the pressure, we get away with one because at least we have a plan. But if he works the inside fade to the field, I think we would have been in better shape here. So you'll see it as post snap gets to it. But, this is really what we want to work right here. We're down a hat. This is in summer camp right here. So we're still getting everybody on the same page, but at least you can see the mechanics for what my guys should be thinking.
Again, Coach, I love the way you kind of map it out and the decision-making process, really, really clear and concise.
Absolutely. Here's another one. This one is we're getting a glance back in. So this one we call glow, which is glancing out. So again, we're just packaging it. Now our man answer, our Manser is our out concept, just throwing the 4-step quick out to the slot. We talk all the time. Any route like this glance can convert versus press, right? Obviously you have your MOR outside your out. And I talk all the time is like, hey, if they come out and press this glance and this guy's going to convert to the fade, you have to KYP, you have to know your personnel. Is this a win one-on-one guy that you want to take a shot to, or is he not? And because your quarterback said, well, coach, they pressed the glance, I threw the fade. It's like, that's great. Is that your guy that we want to throw fade conversions to, or is he not? And so that's something that's really important in this offense. When you give your quarterback the freedom to make choices, you need to make sure that you guys are on the same page. And so I always tell a story when I do this clinic, because I'm like, this year where all this film comes from, there was a really talented player named Derek English. His nickname was Debo. And Debo was usually this guy. And then my Z receiver was a kid named Christopher, right? So you can kind of see where I'm going with this, which is like, if Debo gets pressed and he converts to a fade, we could probably take that shot to him, right? If Christopher gets pressed and converts to a fade, that's probably not the first place we want to go with the ball, if that makes sense. Now, he's a great possession receiver and he's a physical blocker. He's just not our win one-on-one home run guy. So I think that's something that coaches that are running this type of a system have to also have that understanding with their quarterbacks on, hey, if you're going to take some of those shots, then we got to make sure we're on the same page. So glance into the boundary.
Good job of switching your dude to different spots, like ASU did last year with Jordan Tyson. He was all
that was something. And I'll tell you this: like I thought, I never just went left and right. I always moved guys around. But I felt like from Coach Marcus Arroyo, our offensive coordinator, the way he moved Jordan Tyson around was genius. And we had a lot of different subtle tags in our formation system to move Jordan all around and make him the primary receiver in a concept, or to get him matched up on the fish, on the guy we wanted to take advantage of. And I thought that was one of the things that Marcus, that nobody really talks about, but one of the things that he did so well last year was creating those matchups for JT, and moving him all around and making it really hard to game plan for him.
In every game, and he was all over the field.
Yeah, yeah, there's no doubt. So anyway, we're back here now. You got Higley running this 3-3 stack, right? This defender right here, if you're the quarterback, you sock it, corners are out, safeties are high and outside the hash, and this looks like probably some kind of cover 2 type look right here. I know this defender right here is the number 7. So if I'm the quarterback, I know if he adds to the box, we can't account for him. We're down a hat. If he expands, I can hand the ball off. So you get into this look, he opens up to wall. All right, we're 6 for 6. I should hand the ball off. Right. And to me, like, there's nothing sexy about that other than we just got 10 yards on first down running the ball right down the throat.
Looks pretty dang sexy to me.
Yeah, right. If you're a head coach or an offensive play caller, you're like, yeah, I'll take that all day, every day. But there's a reason why I think our offensive efficiency and our yards per carry and all that was really good, because we weren't asking our guys to run the ball into bad boxes. We ran the ball into good hat counts. And that doesn't mean we always ripped off runs. I mean, at the end of the day, just because you're 6 for 6 doesn't mean you're not going to get your ass whipped somewhere. But you at least have a better chance. When you're running a ball, you're like, hey, we got to run the ball, and you're handing it off and you're down a hat. That's just bad coaching. That's not on your kids. That's not on your offensive line. That's you're running into a disadvantage. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me is I never tried to put my kids at a disadvantage. I always tried to give us at least a chance to be 1-for-1. And if you whip us across the board, man on man, then tip our hats and lick our wounds and get on to the next one. But I think that's the most important job for a coach, is just to make sure you put your kids in the best possible situations for success. Same look right here, same thing. 6-man box. All right. Now you can say, well, what about this rotation, right? They go boundary rotation right here. They go boundary rotation, but our quarterback has a decision to make, all right, of like, is that guy an immediate threat to inside zone? And I think this is a really smart play, because even though we could have beat that with this glance route out here in the boundary, at the mesh point right here, this guy's not really a threat. And our quarterback is also savvy enough to know that inside zone never hits front side B to C. It's always hitting front side A to backside A. So he knows, coach, this guy added late outside. I'm not worried about his as a threat. We're not even going to hat him up. He's not a threat right now.
You could argue whether he's in the box because of where he ends up. But yeah, I love the way you guys teach inside zone with cheek to cheek there, A gap to A gap. So
yeah, we want to press the center's play side ass cheek. And I heard this, and like I said, I don't make any of this up. I always hear it from somebody smarter than me. So we press the center's play side ass cheek, and you're like an airplane. And if that runway's open, land your airplane on the runway, put your shoulders down, and hit 100 miles an hour. And if that runway's closed, if it's cloudy, then you're just going to jump cut and go 100 miles an hour through the backside A gap. There's no decision making on this. This is not like a really big feel, and this is just like I'm going to hammer this thing downhill. And if my first runway closes down, I'm jump cutting the backside A gap, and that's all it is. And I think this is a good job. And I think this is another big thing that I teach my guy all the time. Like, there's a reason that this is called RPO, right? And not PRO, because it's a run first option. So if you're ever in doubt, choose this one. If you're ever in doubt, choose this one. It's a run pass option. If it was a pass run option, then you could choose this one down, but not for us. Right now, if we call an RPO and you're not quite sure, hand the ball off and live to see another day. I never want you to feel like you have to force a throw. Well, coach, I thought he might be the 7. I wasn't sure. Hey, if that's the answer, that ball should have been handed off every time. And I'll show one more clip, coach, and then I probably have to.
I gotcha. I
appreciate
it, coach.
So, here you go. This is a great look. So we're playing Campo Verde right here, right? And Campo's mixing up and trying to get into some bear fronts and do some different things, right? So now they get into this 5-2 look. How many can we account for in the box?
Well, we can count for 6, and they got.
We can account for 6, and they've got a hard 7, right? So right here, if I get into this look, I'm running this glance without. They've got a hard 7. If I just open up and hand the ball off, right, we're in a bad box. And there's a really good look at why, even though, if you want to say, hey, Saguaro versus Campo Verde, the Saguaro should win one-on-one matchups most of the time, right? But schematically, they have an advantage on us, right? They're a good football team. If they have a +1 advantage, they're going to make the play. And so right here, we have the ability. They go field rotation, right? They go field rotation. They outnumber us in the box. I've got a built-in glance out here to the boundary. I should bang the glance right now, right? I've got to be able to throw that. Or if I feel like that field rotation is late, I've got a quick out to the field. If I feel like this is soft man or anything like that, then bang your quick out. That's your man answer. So if you don't love the glance because you felt like he's playing catch man or something like that, then get to your man answer. So there's a couple subtle things. This course, this is the combo RPO course that I have on Coach 2. There's a ton more on here. This is just kind of the first kind of scratching the surface, but at least it gives you guys a look into the kind of how my brain works and how I try to call plays and how I try to package stuff together to put our guys in an advantageous situation.
Coach, again, I can't thank you enough. I know you're very busy and off to coach's meeting. Go Devils. I'm really happy you joined us. Thank you so much. And we will, again, amazing job of making the complicated seem really, really simple and how you taught it. So thank you so much, Coach. Lifelong Sun Devil fan. Looking forward to watching you guys again this fall. So
appreciate you, Coach. Sports up.
You. Have a good one.
You too.